Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 2025 Ordinary Council meeting for Light Regional Council. Meeting's declared open at 5 p.m. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Ngadjuri and Kaurna people, the traditional owners on the land on which we meet today. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are present today. So moving into the agenda, excuse me, so I believe everybody's in attendance this evening and therefore there are no apologies, no leave of absence and no non-attendance. The first item on the agenda for this evening is the confirmation of the council meeting, the minutes of the council meeting held on the 25th of March, that being the ordinary council meeting. Do I have a mover of that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Fabio. Thank you, Councillor Bill. Put that to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried. Yeah. The second item is confirmation of the confidential minutes of the special council meeting held Tuesday, the 8th of April 2025. Do I have a mover of that motion, that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Dean. I have a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Allison. Put that to a vote. All those in favour? Those against? That's fine. Thanks, Councillor Will. That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so moving into communications, I'll provide these separately to Kylie. Before I list out those communications, I think it's important to acknowledge the passing of a respected member of the Kapunda community in Bill Adams. This week he sadly passed away, having been a member of the community here for around 45 years, the founder of the Kapunda Business Alliance and the Making a Diff initiative. Bill was obviously a very well-respected member of the Kapunda community, and it's sad to learn of his passing, so I think we should acknowledge that here this evening. I'm not sure if anyone else had anything they would like to add to that. Thank you, Councillor Dane.
Yes, I've had quite a bit to do with Bill and various community organisations, and I mean, right up to just a few days before he died, he was still active. And in fact, I had a meeting with him. He was at a meeting less than 2 weeks ago. So one of the recent initiatives was when the Rotary Club finally closed and the Lions closed and all those other service groups closed. He set up a Friends of Kapunda and had the idea of a second-hand bookshop, which if you haven't been in there, go in there and look at the wall where they've listed all the donations they've made in the short time they've been in operation. It turned out to be a roaring success. And that sums him up. He was always trying to think of things to do for the good of the community, more so than just about anyone else I know. So he will be missed by lots of people.
Thank you, Councillor Dean, for sharing your thoughts. Okay, Councillor, so I'll provide the communications that I've made or received over the last month to the staff. That'll be published in the public agenda. So moving forward then, there are no petitions this evening. There's no requested documents, correspondence to be tabled, which brings us to item 6, which is deputations and presentations. And this evening we have a deputation from the Light Country Community Centre, and Alan's here to make a deputation to council. So Alan, I'll invite you up to the lectern.
I think I got the instructions right. Okay, thank you for the opportunity and privilege to address you all. Acting Mayor, elected members, I think the CEO's here, and managers and staff present. Almost a year ago, Light Regional Council came to our rescue. And and I'll use that word very strongly, and made it possible for our charity to function from the Kapunda Institute. As a board, we're deeply grateful for that generosity. And across that 12 months, the council have continued that generosity in making the use of the facilities of the Institute free of charge. This has been important to us and our ongoing future, as I will show in my address shortly. Without the help and support that we have received from the council, we would not exist today to help and support some of the vulnerable people of our community and beyond. I'm Alan Falbush. I'm the chair of Light Country Community Centre Incorporated, or if you can't get your tongue around that, it's LCCC Incorporated for short. We came up with that massive name and then suddenly realised we needed to find an abbreviation. Who are we? LCCC Incorporated are a not-for-profit charity. We're fully registered with Consumer and Business Affairs and registered with the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profit Commission, that's the ACNC. Our purpose and vision is to provide support and assistance to people, households who are struggling with cost of living issues, social interaction, financial stresses, and it goes on and on and on. We're trying to stay in touch and in tune with people of our community and where they're hurting and where they need help. A year ago, none of that registration incorporation existed. We were known as Uniting Care Kapunda, but due to changes within the church and its subsequent closure, we could no longer function from that premises and use that name. So we were able to rebadge as LCCC Incorporated and then make the transition. In that transition and locating to the Institute, we were left with an almost non-existent bank balance. When I say almost non-existent, we had less than $1,000 in the bank and skating on thin ice. That account now is much healthier due to much fundraising and gifts of cash from various organisations, and Friends of Kapunda Bookshop has been one of those supporters. Currently, we've got a bank balance of around 13,000. So that's quite a transition in a year. Uniting Care Kapunda was established in October 2008 with the initial purpose of helping people who were struggling to provide food for their household. Isn't it amazing how times haven't changed for the better? We're probably worse now than we were then. Apart from a short time during COVID lockdowns, we've continued unbroken support for people in that aspect. As a board, we didn't want to disappear a year ago and leave those struggling households without the help they were accustomed to and obviously still needed and still need today. We as a board chose a harder road by deciding to stay and serve the people of our community. Again, we thank Council for their help in achieving what we've got so far. What do we currently do? We're predominantly focused on 4 aspects. Firstly, and it's where we started in 2008 with our food relief. This currently functions from the very back of the stage in the Institute. From here, we help between 40 and 45 households per week with free food. This equates to around 120 individual people, and the amount of food we give contributes to over 350 meals a week for this community and beyond. And the team that function that part of our organisation tell me that it's only increasing. We've had 10 new households come to us so far this year, and I'm told that's a conservative figure. People come to us from Tarlee, Riverton, Greenock, Freeling, Roseworthy, Robertstown, and a few other places in between. Most of this food is given to us from businesses and individuals from here in Kapunda and as far away as Gawler. Most of this is picked up through the week by our volunteers. So it's almost every day of the week, someone of our volunteers is picking up some of this food from somewhere. Some food is provided by very generous people who go to the shop, purchase a box of food, and then walk in and hand it to us. Other people grow fruit and veg in their gardens. Some are successful, some of us are not. And then they bring some of their spare and share it with the people that are struggling. From this section of our organisation, we've also been able to supply Christmas hampers, predominantly to families coming to us. And last Christmas, we did 30 of those. As well as this last week, we've been able to do a special Easter bag for families. And that just had a few extra goodies, some hot cross buns. But surprisingly, most of the cost of these special gifts, the Easter hamper and the Easter bags, has been covered by generous gifts of food, toys, and cash and dignity bags for the females. So almost all of that was covered without it coming out of our bank. And to me, that was amazing. These gifts have come from groups and individuals, mostly from here in Kapunda, but also elsewhere. From the food donated to us, we're also able to pass them on to the high school breakfast and lunch club, where students at our local high school don't have food from home. As I've previously said, this program of help and assistance was started in 2008 and is currently operating 3 days a week. Secondly, our open door lunch on Fridays. This commenced in July 2022 after the COVID lockdowns. We became conscious of people struggling to find a place to go where they felt safe and comfortable to get out of the lockdown attitude and to socially interact again. And we were just thinking of a morning or afternoon tea, but a couple of ladies came to us and said, all we want to do is cook meals. So the easy one became slightly bigger. And so we decided to try it. And here we are almost 3 years later and still going. It's a free lunch, but most of the people coming in said, we can afford to pay. But because we'd advertised free, we put a donation tin there and they feel comfortable by giving a donation. And open door happens in the Institute using the fantastic kitchen attached and runs from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Every Friday apart from public holidays. And that allows people to just sit, chat, interact and enjoy each other's company. This caters for a 2-course lunch each Friday, except public holidays, as I said, for up to 25 people, and they come from a variety of locations. I think the furthest afield is from Robertstown, and it's a couple of people. They can only make it when their carer is able to bring them in, but it's also good to see them. And it's also interesting to see the gophers lined up outside the door of the Institute during lunch. And I have suggested that perhaps we should try a gopher race, see how they go, but they're not into that. And our cooks do a fantastic job of that 2-course lunch every week, and they seem to do it extremely economically. Some of the food is given to us, but most of the food for that lunch we purchase. The third main thing that we do is our Services Australia agent. This person provides mostly Centrelink assistance to predominantly people of our own community here. This service came to us a little over 2 years ago. The chap came into our office and unfortunately I had 3 other people all trying to talk to me that day. And I just said to him, can you come back another day? And he did. He now helps people with their Centrelink issues every second Friday. And that service we started in January 2023, and it's still going strong. He's with us every second Friday from 12 till 2. And normally he can see 3 people in that time slot and get them the help here, because so many of those people are either not computer literate, so they can't do it online, or they haven't got transport to get to Gawler. So it's an important thing. That service is provided upstairs in the Institute in the meeting room. Unfortunately, that's not an ideal spot because some of these people don't have the ability to climb the stairs. And so our agent sees them in that area under the stairs, which is also the access thoroughfare for disabled people to get to the craft shop. So when that is happening, it's a bit distracting. Fourthly is our fundraising. This is an extremely important because it supplies most of our income, and part of our number of volunteers, that's their main focus, just on the fundraising. We're applying for grants to help our income. We're also seeking to get our DGR, which is the ability to give people tax deductibility when they give us a gift of money. We're working pretty hard at a lot of that. A lot of our fundraising is done at the Kapunda markets and a couple of other markets elsewhere. We also are at the Rodeo locally, and we have been running the Mega Garage Sale each November. And last year we tried and successfully ran a pie drive. So we're going to do that again. It can be a lot of hard work, but it also gives us connection with other people in the community who otherwise don't know that we exist. So it's a pretty important double-edged thing. Currently, we're working with another organisation to provide us a financial advisor, and they'll work in partnership with us. And again, this is an important thing that we need to do within our community. This particular organisation get paid by the federal government to provide that service in a whole region, and Kapunda happens to be in that region. So they can come to us, and they know that we need it because they're currently seeing people in their organisation outside of Kapunda. And most of those people that they're seeing from this area are dependent on other people to get them over to Tanunda where they get their appointments. Another important issue that currently we can't do anything about is housing. And thank you. That's an important one. And I've just been given the signal to wind up. Some of our current difficulties are the lack of space for food relief and the access to this area. And it's only one door in, up 3 unequal steps, and only room for one household to be represented at a time. So the others have to stand outside in whatever the weather. And we've got no temperature control in there. So the food safety issues are quite serious. As we look to the future of LCCC in Cork, we are looking to council to continue their generous support for us. We need more space. We need on a level ground area, a level floor space. And without being too forward, we think that the house at number 9 Hill Street would be ideal because it would put everything on a level, be very accessible. It would create a central hub for everything. We're looking at a whole swag of other organisations that are coming to us, want to partner with us, and we'd like to partner with them and provide service. And that includes mental health, NDIS, and there's a whole string of them. But I've run out of time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Alan, for your deputation, and that's something that I think council can take away and consider and come back to you in due course. But you're offering a very vital service to the community, and I'm sure everyone would agree that we commend you for it. So thank you. Any questions from councillors before we proceed to the next item? No. Councillor Cole?
So Hill Street, you'd like to use, have you got any ideas how you'd be able to utilise it and pay for development of it to make it, you know, for your purposes, or you just carry on asking us to let you use it?
I think that's a good one that needs a lot of discussion. I'm well aware of the amount of repairs that need to be done on there. My background is I was a tradesman in the building industry for almost 50 years, so I've got a vague idea of some of it. And I was fortunate enough to teach my trade for 3 years before I retired. Been retired 12 years now, so but yeah, I think probably need a lot of discussion. But I think some of the work, and again, I haven't talked with the experts from council, but I think some of the work could be superficial and maybe we could do some of that ourselves and win grants to do it. But again, it would require conversation.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Councillor Collin. Okay, so just moving through the agenda then onto item 7, adjourned business. There was none. Moving then into action items, commencing on page 7. Councillors, are there any questions in relation to the actions there? Councillor Simon.
Yes, through the mayor. I just wondered about the community bus service because it's sort of, it says a whole bunch of stuff and in the end said it's completed. And I'm aware that there's a report in the agenda, but I still, it almost seems to go backwards. The report in the end ends up selling our only bus. And at some point there was the question of what it will cost to actually run that bus. And I don't think all these costs have really been presented to us. So I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not really sure where we are with that. Or is this just the end of it, basically saying there's nothing we can do and that's the end of it?
Or perhaps should we discuss that when we get to the report for decision, or did someone want to respond to that now? Okay. All right. Moving then to page 8. Might just call these out as we go. So Clare Road. Review of roadworks, building and maintenance programs. I did have a question on that. Megan, I'm just curious to know when the report's due to be presented to the council.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Michael. The report is due early May,
Okay.
and they will be presenting to council in May also.
No. All right, terrific. Thank you. Dutton Park water agreement. So moving then on to page 9. Rates policy raised by Councillor Collin.
Yeah,
Collin.
yeah. So I've actually got a motion that I'd like to present. It's about rates as well as greenfield development. So the motion's basically just to give the council some guidance and when we can get this delivered, because at the moment this has been around for a while. So it basically just instructs the CEO to make a report by the August 25 meeting, indicating with the resolution of Simon's 25045, and also outlines how to set a separate rate through an agreement with developers, landholders to recover various costs associated with roseworthy residential commercial development that are currently being paid by council. That's pretty
Thank
well, oh, sorry.
Thank you, councillor Collins. So I believe a copy of that motion without notice has been provided. So did we want to update that and get to that when we get to the motions without notice, or do we want to address it now? Are you happy with that, councillor Collins, or do you want to deal with it now?
I'd just like to do it now because I think,
Sure.
just get it over and done with because it is an action item, so we're discussing it. I know further down the, in the audit and risk, I was reading the agenda for that, that does talk about the separate rate, and we also have got a separate rate already in our council rate policy. But, you know, it does say in the November, that, you know, this rate policy one was asked in November and it says that we're going to discuss it in February. I just really want to get it nailed down and get a time frame on when this is to be done. So I'd rather just vote on it now.
Okay, no problem.
Present it now if I could.
All right, so we'll just give Wiley and Carrie a moment to update the minutes. Okay, so there's a recommendation up there on the screen. I won't read that verbatim. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Thank you, councillor Collins. Do I have a seconder? I think councillor Simon might have been just a little bit quicker there. Thank you, councillor Fabio. Councillor Collins, would you like to speak to your motion?
Oh, no, just the one, the Greenfield one's been hanging around for a while. So if we can just make the August meeting, the deadline for it to be presented. I know the budget's coming up and a few other things, so it just gives everyone a bit of time to present that. I think the separate rate thing, you know, it was asked in November, then discussed again in February, didn't have time to do it. I'd really like it dealt with now so that if we can move into next year's rating, budget planning, we can have it, we can put it in. But what surprised me though, when I did find it in the, we already have a separate rate policy in our rate policy, but anyway, I'd just like this done and then we can all look at it and see if it's what we want to do.
Thank you, councillor Collins. Councillor Simon, would you like to speak in the motion?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just not quite sure what Simon's resolution is. That we
I think, that's,
includes information sought by Simon Zeller. What was that about?
yeah, so I'm just going to give councillor Simon an opportunity to speak to the motion as a seconder, and then maybe we can open the floor for discussion then. Councillor Simon, did you want to speak?
Yeah, no, I think councillor Collins said everything needed to be said, so I'm happy with this way it stands.
Okay. Councillor Bill, did you?
Yeah, just my question is what is the information sought by Simon Zeller in the resolution? Is it? Yeah, it might be referring to something, but it's in this recommendation, so we're saying I just don't know what it is, that's all.
And so the resolution is OCM 25845 is what we voted on.
Yeah, what's that? That's
Yeah, I think,
The CEO always delegate prepare a report exploring all options on how to extract more revenue from the multiple greenfield developments approved, built currently and in the future in our council area. So that was one that we did earlier, and it just keeps coming back. So the reason I put that in, so it sets a time frame when it will be presented to us. And then I've also added on the separate rate because I think that's something we should look at.
Thank you, councillor Collin. Carrie, did you have something you wanted to add to that? You're happy with it? Yep. Councillors, anyone else want to speak to the motion up on the screen? In that case, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you, councillor Collin, for your motion. Moving forward, next item was the management accounting policy from councillor Simon. I had a question on this again, and it goes to timing. I'm just would like to know when we're likely to see some output from that one as well. Yes.
So regarding this, through the chair, my understanding about this management accounting policy is that I've actually looked into the background of it, that resolution was raised in the pretext that we were trying to incorporate or calculate the overhead or on costing on different projects. And at the time, the idea was to come up with some kind of a methodology so that we can track it, if that's what my understanding is. Based on that, I've had a look at it and I've had a discussion with the staff who were already here in the past to get more understanding. And at the same time, we're using multiple systems. So I have to come up with something that would be, usable in terms of doing that, achieving that outcome. So I won't be able to give the answer at this stage, but I think I'm like, it's like one of those things that's kind of ongoing. And for me to understand the overall business in that level of detail to come up with something might require some time, but at this stage, I can't give anything more than that. But yes, I had a discussion since I've started here with my existing staff, and we have got some meetings in line as well to get more information so that we can understand how we're going to achieve that. The reason I'm saying that is because in the past, when I work in different other organizations, where one ERP system would do that for us, we don't have to do anything. We just go and tick or untick. That would happen automatically. But because over here we have got multiple systems, we have to do some manual interventions as well. How are we going to do that so that we can achieve that outcome is something that we are currently working on.
Thanks, Hafiz. I think it's important though, I guess, and this sort of goes to councillor Collins' point on the previous item, that we try and put some timeframes around.
Can I just add to the chair? The only one thing that I'm glad that we have discussed this. The only one thing that I was looking at, that at this stage, the policy that we have got, which talks about that area, is called asset management accounting policy. So this one says management accounting policy. So I wasn't sure whether that's something that we have to incorporate in the previous policy or we have to come up with something new. So my understanding, based on the discussion that I had with the staff, that perhaps there was a bit of a misunderstanding. Either we are referring to a new policy altogether, or we are trying to, I would say, review or upgrade the existing policy, which says asset management and accounting policy. That was one thing, which is something that I'm looking into. And because that existing policy that we have got does talk about some areas of what has been in this resolution. And I think in due course, I will get more information to that. I will add more to that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Hafiz. Offset scheme. Sorry, councillor Simon.
Can I make a comment, because the resolution that was carried does say that it only has to be done by the start of the financial year 25-26. So we do have a time frame, and so we got a few more months. So I think we're still good.
Thanks, councillor Simon. Offset scheme and fund. Kapunda mine site. Breathing Community Garden. I might just refer to these again by page number because there's a number of items on here. Anything from page 10? And finally, anything from page 11, which is the end of the action items. Councillor Collin?
Well, there's nothing actually written here, but One thing I thought should be in these action items, and it's not, is that's, the Land Vision, deputation that was done here, and it was an ongoing thing, and we haven't really heard much about it. I'm wondering whether we could,
I've just been reminded that's a confidential item that you're speaking about, councillor Collin. So there is place in the confidential agenda where I think we might be able to revisit that action item, if that's okay with you.
yeah, that'd be fine as long as we remember to do it.
Yep. Okay, so now moving into recommendations from committees. Item 9.1, there's a recommendation from the Audit and Risk Committee that the agenda reports and minutes of the meeting of the Audit and Risk Committee held on Tuesday, the 8th of April be received. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Lynette, are you seconding, Councillor Peter? Thank you. Would you like to speak to that, Councillor Lynette? Councillor Peter? Anybody else? Put it to a vote then. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried. Thank you. Moving now into our reports for information, so infrastructure sustainability. Sorry, second. Oh, sorry. There's a second part to that recommendation. Apologies. That the reports and recommendations of the meeting of the Audit and Risk Committee held on the 8th of February as listed be adopted. Do I have a mover of that recommendation?
I don't intend to move it. I just would like to withdraw or discuss point 6 if we could, or just have a question really on it. But
Item 6,
Item
rate
6, yeah.
revenue methodology.
yes,
Sure.
just a question. Is it?
Yeah.
Do that now. Yeah, I just wanted reading all of this. So it does. But let's start from a different point. If by approving the motion that you were asking before, we would basically approve this recommendation, which then says that to read it perfectly, approves the recommended methodology as outlined in attachment 1. So by approving this motion, we'll be in turn be approving this methodology. I'm not just 100% sure what this methodology is, because we still are sort of in discussion of a rates policy altogether. And this is just a rates methodology. I just had a little bit of a confusion in that.
So my understanding is that this is just a recommendation from the Audit and Risk Committee. It's not necessarily the council is adopting this, and we've got our session on the 29th of April to go through the annual business plan. But unless Hafiz or Richard, did you want to add to that? Or
Through the chair, thanks for that. I'm happy to answer that question. So that methodology was the methodology that I discussed in the information session, where previously in the past, we would apply the rebate based on decrease in valuation, whereas now we are proposing based on the last year's rates payable.
Yeah.
So that's the only methodology that we're talking about. In terms of the percentage, which as the chair said, that we haven't decided whether it's going to be 10% or 14% or 15% cap. That's something that we can discuss in due course. But this is only about that methodology, and we have given example in that report about 10% on residential and on primary production. That's it. That does not mean that you're adopting 10%. It was just used as an example, because by having that, it's like a benefit for both those main categories of the land use in terms of the rebate amount that the users will get. Sorry, the ratepayers will get. Plus, it makes it easier for them to understand. That's it. And we can come up with any percentage as the chair said in the coming week when we have the special council meeting. That is only that methodology that I explained to you that yet.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
you happy with that, Councillor Simon?
Yes, I'm happy. I was just a bit confused at what's the difference between the methodology and the actual policy. But then the other thing is that it does talk about, or we have talked at that February meeting about the separate rate, and then it's sort of being talked in this report saying that it's too complex. We're not going to look at this right now. But I think the motion that Councillor Collin carried or put forward before probably solves that problem as well. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
Thank you, Councillor Simon. Councillor Collin?
Yeah, that is one of the reasons why I did that motion earlier, was because it covers that. One thing, I know with this rate cap, it's suggested at 10%. The only thing is a fixed maximum increase in the general rate is charged. Is that the cap? Because it says here it can only be applied for land that is the principal place of residence of the principal ratepayer. I just want to make sure that we're not making the same mistake that was made last year for prime production. So we are clear that the cap is not just on the primary place of residence, it is on all primary production valuate or assessments.
Thanks, councillor Collin. Hafiz?
Through the chair, I think that report, I haven't got that in front of me, but I know where you're referring to. In that, because we have to review that policy each year, so all we did was we reviewed the only thing that is going to be changed in that policy is going to be that main item of methodology. Everything else that we've got is as it is. We can discuss about that, or we can perhaps adopt something in the special council meeting if we have to. Otherwise, the whole idea of that, if you read the name of that report, was the methodology, how we did that rebates the previous year. That was the only one point that we touched in that report.
Yeah, that's fine. But just to be clear, when the primary production cap at 10%, if we use that methodology, it'll be on all assessments.
My understanding is that, yes, it's going to be on assessments, because I've been told that, in the past, there was some kind of a confusion that it was only on the primary place of residence. And in the end of the day, it's the council decision. If council decides to have that on all the properties, I'm pretty sure that could be done. That's not a problem at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to be clear, because last year we made a mess of that.
Thanks, councillor Collin and Hafiz. Councillors, any other questions or comments about the second recommendation? Do I have a mover for recommendation 2? Thank you, councillor Bill. Seconder, councillor Simon. Thank you. I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, and apologies for the mix-up there with the order of the recommendations. Next item is item 10, infrastructure and sustainability reports. Item 10.1 is the monthly update prepared by Jason. Councillors, are there any questions in relation to this report? Do I have a mover for the recommendation that we receive this report? Thank you, councillor Lynette, and a seconder. Thank you, councillor Collin. We'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Excuse me. Item 11 is the strategy and economic development reports as prepared here by Gemma and Sky. Are there any questions, councillors, on this report? Do I have a mover then for the recommendation that we receive the strategy and economic development report as presented? Thank you, councillor Dean. Second is councillor Fabio. We'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. We move now into reports for information. The first report for this evening is the CEO's monthly report. Any questions in relation to that report? No, we'll move to item 12.2, Youth Incentive Scheme applications. Any questions on that report? Councillor Collin.
I've got a question. I'd just like to say that Taylor McCarthy played in the state team, and South Australia was successful in taking home the championship, so that was a pretty good result.
It is a great result. Thank you, councillor Collin. Item 12.3 is the quarterly update for the capital renewal program. Councillor Simon.
I do have one question. It talks on the bridges and floodways. It talks about there's some scouring that happened to Kingsbridge and the bridge, or I think it's the Granite Creek at what's the Gerald Roberts Road, I think. And and actually I drive to there quite frequently, and I saw the works have been done. Looks really good. I just wondered why, because I was on the understanding that's quite a new bridge. It's only been built a couple of years ago. So why does it already need all that work to be fixed again or whatever?
Thanks, councillor Simon. Megan, did you want to answer that?
Apologies, councillor Simon. Which bridge did you say was a new bridge?
Bridge over the, I think it's the Granite Creek, Gerald Roberts Road. That you guys got a reward for it, like a big award for it and everything. So it was a really beautiful sort of bridge you built there. Well, I don't know if it's called a bridge or some
The
big
culvert.
concrete thing. Is it a culvert? It's a big culvert.
I can't answer that question for you. The bridge, if we've done some works, we've just done some repair works to the scouring.
Councillor Simon, did you want any further information on that?
Well, the question is, why would it need repair work, a brand new bridge? That's sort of the question, because we didn't have any floods, we didn't have much rain, like it didn't seem like, that just it seems interesting to me, but look, if that's what it is, that's what it is.
Did you want to take that on notice, Megan, or?
I will take that on notice, thank you, because I'm not sure that we actually did some repair works to Gerald Roberts. I think it was to a different bridge. That was Gerald Roberts. If Brenton wants to explain further.
Brenton, did you want to speak?
Can do. Yeah, apologies. So we did the bridge. The repair works were to the swales coming in, and they're quite steep. And also, there's a Bill water scheme across the creek that they wanted some works done to that. So it's not repair works, the actual structure, just the surrounding area, mainly on the, I think it's the northern side. Yeah, some minor works around the swales going down the side of the road and into the creek. So that work should have been done by now by a contractor.
Okay, councillor Simon, thank you. Thanks, Brenton. Any other questions, councillors, from this report? Okay, so the next report is the report on Wardbelt Road and Oates Road, which is a report I think I asked for. So thank you for that. I didn't have any questions necessarily. I'll sort of leave further comments about this for when we get to the upgrade program discussions. But I think it's a very good report. Item 12.5 is report on economic development reduced budget as requested by councillor Simon. Any questions, councillors, on this report? Councillor Simon?
Yes, I do have probably more comment than a question. So that's why I don't think, because this is sort of closing out this resolution, it seems, but it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really answer what the resolution asks for. It's receive a report detailing how this reduction in spending will be achieved. So I don't think this report does it, but that's, I suppose, is a comment. But the other thing is, in it, the first sentence pretty much explains why, because it says there is no direction with regards to cessation or reduction of economic development services. But the point was that I did have earlier, like, I mean, this motion started really its life in November the year before. And we had backs and forths, and then I put motions, and then it was ultra virus and this and that. And at the beginning, there was very much direction, but I was told I can't give any direction. So then we ended up with this sort of empty motion that couldn't give any directions. And now it's said they can't actually answer because I didn't give any direction. So I'm just a little bit confused. What was I meant to do? Because first I tried to give direction, and then was said that's ultra virus and I can't give directions. And then they say, when I don't give directions, it's like, well, we can't do anything because you didn't give directions. So I'm just not sure what to do, because it doesn't really answer what that report certainly doesn't answer. Receive a report detailing how this reduction in spending will be achieved. It just says we can't really, and where it's spent and everything else, but it does not answer that really. But yeah, I'm with that far into the budget now, so I'm not going to pick up any fuss. It's all good, but just a bit curious. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think it's important we get a response to that, because the resolution was in two parts. So item one was to allocate a reduced budget, And item 2 was to receive a report detailing how this reduction would be achieved. So is it your view that this report doesn't meet those 2 items? Kyron, as the author of the report, did you want to respond to that or?
Yeah, through the chair. So I guess what I've tried to outline is where all the spending in the budget is. So elected members can have a look at where it is, what its purpose is, and make any decisions about whether you want to cut that spending and what the impacts and consequences would be. So I think there's information in there for the elected members to move forward on this matter if they choose to do so.
Thanks, Kyron. Councillor Simon?
Yeah, for me again. So, well, I understand and I appreciate that. And again, I could say, like, we should do this, this, and this, but I think we're not allowed to make these sort of recommendations as councillors because we don't have that power over the whole HR thing. So we can't really give you, or I personally, or as a council, we can't give you that direction. The direction we can only direct to cut the budget, and then you have to figure out how to do it. And this was you telling us how you're going to do it, how you could do it. But this does not tell that. It just doesn't. But unless I say we're that far into the budget deliberation at this point, and I quite like what we've been presented the last meeting. So I'm not going to pursue this any further, but I just want to have it out in the open that this does not answer the original motion. It really doesn't. It gives us a lot of information to then come back again and say, oh, this is what we could do. But the resolution or the motion clearly asks detailing how this reduction in spending will be achieved. It doesn't do that at all. That's, like I said, I'm going to let it go now.
Thank you, Councillor Simon. Item 12.6 is the customer request management reporting system. Are there any questions in relation to that report? Okay, so then there's a recommendation on the screen that the reports for information be received and contents noted by council. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Fabio, seconded. Thank you, Councillor Lynette. Would you like to speak to that? Fabio, Lynette, Councillor Lynette. Apologies. Anybody else, councillors? I'll put it to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried. Thank you. So we now move to item 13, which is our reports for decision. First report here is a community development grant program for 24-25. As drafted by Lorinda, there's an extensive recommendation up on the screen, which in summary provides a summation of the grants that are proposed. Does anyone have any questions on this report? Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Collin. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dean. Would you like to speak to the motion, Councillor Collin? Councillor Dean?
I just want to make a comment about the mural committee application for funding for the reconstruction of Kidman Mural and Garden. That's the one by the post office, and in part that's actually not a mural that's done by the mural committee, but there was damage to that done when the square was done, and then there's been additional damage which is either by vandalism or a function of time, I don't know. So I suppose the mural committee filled the vacuum that nothing was being done with it, and we decided as a committee to do something about it. And we'll put some funds towards it, but it's not going to be a really cheap exercise. So if there was any way that we could get more funds, that would help that happen. I'm not sure whether it will proceed until we get some more funds. within the available funding we've got there, I support it.
Thank you, councillor Dean. Any other comments or questions, councillors? In that case, I'll put the recommendation to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13.2 is a report for decision on the community transport services, principally the 2015 Mercedes Sprinter bus. Councillor Simon, you had some comments about this earlier.
Yes, I mean, I was just wondering, this all came about because there seems to be there's literally no real public transport into Kapunda and into Wasleys and those sort of places in our council area, and there's apparently some need for that for people that are old or disabled or don't have a license. Or I mean, there's many reasons why people can't or don't want to drive themselves, and so I think it's an important thing to support us, and I think that the resolution basically talks about advocating for that and see that state government does more, and there's a regional transport review on the way and all that sort of stuff. I just wondered because there was two options that were put, and one was running a service ourselves, and then there's a sort of a slight hint on what that's going to cost. It says upward of $50,000. That's not a very detailed sort of figure on that. So I personally would have liked to see a bit more on that. And the other one was how much would it cost to extend the existing services? And I think that was one of the original ideas, the original just Link SA services just during the holidays. And again, it says we're talking to these people and this and this, but nowhere it says like this is how much it would cost and is council willing to spend that sort of money. So I was just missing this sort of bit more detailed costing of how much money would council have to put out, and because I think it'd be important for the community, or especially for those people that telling us they want the service. If they see that it's going to cost $100,000, then they're going to be quite easily convinced that we just can't afford that for 7 people that want to use the bus. And that's the only sort of comment. But I think, look, in the end, it's a good thing. We need to advocate for more public transport, and as long as we do that, that's at least some good outcome. Now, maybe one more thing, if I may, is so if you get rid of the Mercedes, then obviously that would then stop the option of us providing a service ourselves anymore. But again, like looking at the data, it's been underused, and so maybe that is the best way to go.
Craig, did you want to respond to any of the items that Councillor Simons raised?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Michael, through the chair. I suppose there's a couple of things that Councillor Simons picked up on, but certainly advocacy isn't prevented going forward. And as we've highlighted in the report, the state is going to be undertaking a review. So we would want to be active in that space, I think, particularly around the question of the Link SA bus and extending that. So in terms of the question of what that might cost, I mean, we would hope that would really come to neutral or no cost to council. We would just make the case to say that there's a need, and it needs to be, particularly in the first instance, covering the school holiday period as a gap. Insofar as other regional services, as noted in the report, there is obviously we have the Barossa service, which is going through a procurement process. So there's a bit of uncertainty there as to who will ultimately be appointed. And we can wait for that to be progressed through and have a look at what other options might be available through that provider when that's known after, I think it's August. But in terms of the asset that we have, the point that we make there is that it is underutilised in the first instance. And there could be many reasons for that, but it's not a service. It's an asset that is available to people to utilise. And it's not being utilised for the purpose that it's intended. And there's been a long history of that. So when we talk about potentially having a service in its stead, in that particular asset's stead, as we've highlighted in there are some restrictions around that too. So it's not straightforward. We would need to look at how that fits with the state system and look at how far that could go. And presently, the information we have is quite constrained to be in our area only, which wouldn't necessarily fill the right need anyway. So because of these reasons, what we're suggesting is, as basically outlined in the recommendation, we no longer retain the asset that's now past its useful life. We advocate for something in the alternative.
Thank you, Craig. Councillors, any other questions on this recommendation? Do I have a mover of the recommendation? Thank you, councillor Collin. Is there a seconder? Thank you, councillor Ellison. Councillor Collin, would you like to speak? Councillor Ellison, no. In that case, is anyone else like to speak on the recommendation? Okay, we'll put it to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13.3 is the 2025 SALA rebate. There's a report for decision that's been provided and a recommendation on the screen. Are there any updates to this report from staff? No. Are there any questions on the report from council? Is there a mover for the recommendation? Thank you, councillor Lynette. Is there a seconder? Thank you, councillor Dean. Councillor Lynette, would you like to speak? Councillor Dean, anybody else? Put that to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13.4 is a report for decision on the Local Government Association voting delegate for council. Following Mayor Bill's resignation, council needs to appoint somebody from the council in that position. Is there any further information on this report, Richard or Carrie, before we open it up for questions? No? Well, there's a decision to be made here as well. So, sorry, councillor Dean.
It's normally the mayor, or in this case, acting mayor. So are you happy to do it?
I'm happy to do it, but is there anybody else who would like to do it?
Oh, I'd suggest you do it, but unless someone else wants to do it, that's I'm easy with that too. So
Thank you, councillor Dean. Yeah, I'm happy to accept or to be nominated, I should say, for this. Yep. Councillor Ellison.
Thank you, through the chair. Just how long is the term for? Just with our voting and things that are going to be happening, is it a 12-month term, like,
Carrie,
or does it end when you?
do you mean with a supplementary
Well,
election?
just with you as the acting mayor until we vote. There's voting and stuff. Just out of interest.
Thank you, through the chair. No, it's an appointment for the period, so for the term. So it would be actually the term. So at the end of the 4-year term. Yeah.
Are you happy with that, councillor Ellison? You don't? Yep. Okay. Oh, you have moved it, councillor Dean? Okay, thank you. Apologies, I didn't pick up on it. Is there a seconder for the recommendation? Thank you, councillor Ellison. Councillor Dean, did you have anything further you wanted to add to that? Councillor Ellison? In that case, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13.5. Item 13.5 is a report for decision on the management of the Allendale North Cemetery. Any further updates on this report? No. Any questions, councillors? Pretty straightforward, I think. Councillor Bill.
Just a query. I mean, we say no, that's fine. Should we throw it back to them to make an offer to us that they pay us $50,000 to take it over from? Throw it open.
Thank you, councillor Bill. INA, Megan, did you want to respond to that, or Richard?
If council so chooses to make a counter offer, they can. However, council may wish to consider ongoing maintenance, but also the fact that we can't necessarily comply with the requirements of the Act in having all the burial information because there are no records. We are required to keep records, and we would have to do penetrating radar and further work to develop a plan also. So maybe $50,000 may not quite cut it.
Councillor Bill?
Yeah, I understand that, but it is a consideration that the Uniting Church will let this cemetery lapse and no one will look after it. And eventually someone will say, look, it's got to be the council that's going to take it over anyway. So that's my thought, because it's a vacant block of land with cemeteries that are still, someone's got to have to look at them. And when it leaves the Uniting Church, that's great if they do it, but knowing their previous track record is not good. I hope no Uniting Churching people here.
Councillor Collin?
There's quite a few cemeteries that aren't maintained around the district, aren't there?
Yeah, there are, but they've got burial rights and they've got if there's still interment rights in this one, I don't know if there are or not. Is there any records of that? I can't remember that in the report.
Through the chair, we did ask if there were any records. There is no record for any interment rights, no burial records. It's merely an existing cemetery that someone's maintaining but have no information for.
Did you want anything further, Councillor Bill?
No, that's fine. It's just it's something that concerns me that could develop into something. And if they're prepared to pay, not be worth off, not worth the offer. They might. There's still open for them to come back and make a counter offer to us now.
Thank you, Councillor Bill. Do I have
through the chair, would there be a desire to amend or the third part of the recommendation to include that now, or let that just naturally occur?
I would think just let it naturally occur, but it may be worth in our letter back to them saying that this we're not prepared to take on because of the financial costs involved. Perhaps you might be able to think about a way around that. Yeah.
Councillor Collin? Oh, thank you, Councillor Collins moved it. Councillor Fabio seconded it. Councillor Collin or Councillor Fabio don't want to speak to it. Thank you. Anybody else? I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? It's carried. Thank you. Item 13.6 is a policy review. There's a report for decision that's been prepared by Carrie and a series of attachments. Is there any update or anything further, Carrie? No. Any questions, councillors? In that case, I have a mover for this recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Dean, and second is Councillor Simon. Councillor Dean or Councillor Simon, nothing to say. In that case, we'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? Excuse me, that's carried. Item 13.7 is a report for decision on the supplementary election communications plan. It's been put together by Caitlin's team. Anything further on this one, Carrie? No. Councillors, any questions? Councillor, oh, sorry. You're moving the recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Fabio. Is there a seconder? Councillor Lynette, thank you. Anything you'd like to say, Councillor Fabio or Councillor Lynette? No. Anybody else? I'll put that then to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Item 13.8 is a report for decision prepared by Lisa and consent to deposit a plan of division associated with land division as read on the screen to Nurse Road in Freeling. Any update on that, Lisa? No, thank you. Any questions, councillors? Do I have a mover for the recommendation? Thank you, councillor Fabio. Seconder. Councillor Bill, thank you. Councillor Fabio, Councillor Bill, would you like to speak? Anybody else? Put that to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13.9 is the event sponsorship program, round 2 funding submissions received. There's a report for decision together with an attachment in respect of the Greenock Anzac Day event. There's a recommendation there on the screen that's fairly straightforward. Councillor Fabio, you'd like to move it? Thank you. Would you like to speak to it? Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Allison. Would you like to speak to it? Councillors, anyone else like to speak to this? Put it to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Item 13.10 is a Heritage Incentive Scheme, round 2 funding submission for 2024-2025. Lisa, is there any update to this report or anything to add? Council, is there any questions? Okay, so there's a recommendation on the screen that council receives the report and approves funding to the Northern Light Catholic Parish. Do I have a mover? Councillor Collins, seconder. Councillor Simon. Councillor Collins, anything to add? Councillor Simon. Anybody else? I'll put it to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Item 13.11 is a report for decision in relation to the preparation of an infrastructure deed for the Twin Creek Wind Farm. Lisa or Megan, is there anything that you would like to add to the report or mention? Councillors, do you have any questions? Councillor Collins.
Oh, the only question I'd have, because I know this country pretty well, there's a lot of roads to get out of up there, as you'd be well aware. What happens if they all start nicking off? How do we contain them on the one road? And if we're going to, that Flagstaff Hill Road is quite steep, and they're going to have to put it overtaking lanes and all that sort of stuff in at points, because if there's traffic going up and traffic coming down, they're going to be pretty well organised with that.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Richard or Megan? Oh, sorry, Lisa. Thank you.
Through the chair, apologies for that. No, there won't be any overpassing lanes, because some of those more restrictive areas, especially on Flagstaff Hill Road, you're actually going on bends. We've even contemplated guardrails. So it's going to be a situation of traffic control. There is no way of actually widening. So it will be as it is. They merely will be maintained. They cannot use roads that are not part of that plan. If they do, I'm sure we'll be notified almost immediately with complaints. So we'll be able to monitor that, and they need to get our express permission before they even start using the roads.
Thank you, Lisa. Councillor Collins.
Through the chair. Oh, sorry.
Is there anything further, Councillor Collins? Thank you, Councillor Annette.
How wide is the road? I know how it's narrow and how narrow it is going up there, but how wide is it currently? It's not 8 metres.
I think we might be around about the 6 metre mark, slightly larger. That'd be at the most from my recollection.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Collins.
Yeah, I would say one thing about the Flagstaff Hill Road. So there was a thunderstorm up there the other day, and we've just, well, me with the team have just redone the road, and it worked sensationally well with a downpour, and have to be commended on how well it worked. So yeah, it's it's a good road though.
Thanks, councillor Collin and Lisa. Councillors, any other questions on this report? In that case, do I have a mover for the recommendation? Thank you, councillor Collin. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Lynette. Councillor Collin or councillor Lynette, would you like to speak to it? Would anyone else like to speak to the recommendation? In that case, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Item 13.12 is a report or an update on the 2024-25 Capital Works Program prepared by Megan. Megan, is there anything that you wanted to add? Thank you. Councillors, any questions in relation to this report? Councillor Collin? Thank you, Councillor Collins. Moving, would you like to speak to it?
Yeah, it's just a great result for the people who live on these roads because they, there has been a bit of an expectation that they would have got them done in this financial year, and they are being. So it's a credit to Megan and her team to do or come up with this plan. Hopefully, it is completed by the end of the financial year. One thing I would notice though is the blowout and the roundabout, which I know you, Michael, were quite objected to us doing it. I think it shows that maybe we shouldn't be venturing into complicated, things like the roundabout. So that's the only thing. But yeah, that's a good report.
Thank you, Councillor Collin. I think it is a good result that these roads are going to be added to the Capital Works, or included, I should say, in the Capital Works program as well. Is there a seconder for this recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Dean. Councillor Dean, would you like to speak to it? Would anyone else like to speak to the recommendation? In that case, I'll put it to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Okay, so the final report for decision on the full agenda is this report by Jason on the plant and fleet replacement program. Megan, is anything to add to this? Councillors, any questions on this report or the recommendation? Councillor Collin?
The only thing, if we're going to get another grader, I'm just wondering, we've got three, if we were to maintain three, as I mentioned, Flagstaff Hill Road was done very well, and that was done by a contractor. Have we got the staff to run three, or should we be maybe having less graders and using a third party to do some of this work?
Thanks, Councillor Collin. Megan?
Thank you, Councillor Collin. Look, as part of the review, which I guess we'll find out a little bit more about in May, we have talked about internally how we would utilise our plant equipment and our staffing resources. And with the three graders, we do have work for three graders. It's not just resheeting or construction work that we do, it's also grading programs and maintenance that we undertake. And this grader that we are proposing is actually a replacement of an existing grader.
So I guess if I may, because I guess I made a similar observation to Councillor Collins. So I would have thought it would be good to have the report on the asset utilisation before council made a decision to invest 850,000 worth of capital in. It would, I would suggest a reasonable proportion of that will be on the grader. But that's just my observation. Councillor Allison?
Through the chair, can we hold this over until we have that report?
So we'd like to adjourn this item?
Yeah. So that we get all the information.
I think through the chair, In terms of our patrol grading, I think what's fair to say is council can provide its services at a significant premium to a contractor. There's no doubt about that, because one of the things we don't do is build in profit. And that was one of the reasons that we went from a contract grader. And I can say that the cost of providing a contract grader versus council providing a grader, we were doing it for about 2/3 the price. And that was ultimately around about a $60,000 to $70,000 saving that council made at that time. They were in times where council's funds were a little bit more tighter than what they were now. And I think what I'm hearing from elected members is that they would be happy to take the risk of going with a contractor and spending more and having certainty around paying for that, that contractor, rather than taking those savings and being able to pass them on to the community. This report basically goes through our regular replacement program, and ultimately allowing this to move through. And this was the thing that I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, the certainty of getting on with the program, not holding the program back now, waiting another month. We have 3 graders. We'll get rid of the largest hours on that grader. And if it means that we're selling 2 graders, there'll be another report, that comes back. But I would say going less than 2 graders is not going to happen. And I don't think that the report that you're going to receive will show that, because the savings, I shouldn't say the savings, the cost of providing the maintenance is something that is not budgeted in what we've put forward at a contractor level.
Thanks, Richard. So just, circling back. So I think Councillor Allison has effectively moved a motion that this item be adjourned. So I think we do need to deal with that.
Sorry, just through the chair, the motion has not been moved, so there you cannot adjourn a motion unless it's been moved. If you don't want to move this motion, then it therefore wouldn't go through. I would suggest that then administration would take note that it was to come back.
Is it not the case that a request to adjourn an item is a motion in itself?
It's a motion, but it needs to be on a. Thank you. It needs to be on an actual item.
But Councillor, so we'll come back to that. Councillor Allison, Councillor Collin.
I can see Richard's point, how it's cheaper and we're not making a profit. But if we do use Flagstaff Hill as an example, that had been graded 4 or 5 times by us, and every time it didn't work. So now it's resheeted and it worked. I could take you a lot of roads that a contractor has done very well, and he does it once, and it will last a lot longer. Put cutouts, and all that sort of stuff. So if the job is done to a standard by us, which is acceptable, and it has a long life, so to speak, in construction, and also when we're doing patrol grading, some of the patrol grading is not up to the standard. So a contractor, if he can do it well, even though he's a third cheaper, in the long run, a third more expensive, he might be cheaper in the long run if the quality of the work is done. Because if you got I don't know, we haven't got the grader drivers that I'm sort of seeing around, they're having a go, and they're doing their best, but whether it is of the quality that we need, or maybe we should be having a look at recruiting and paying more for grader drivers rather than.
Thank you, Councillor Collin. Councillors, there is a recommendation up on the screen. Councillor Bill.
Yeah, I'll move the current recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Bills. Would you like to speak to it?
I just think it needs to be going. We'll look at capital replacement of these items at a later date in the next review. So I think we just need to keep the budget process moving and get things happening.
Thank you, Councillor Bill. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dean. Would you like to speak to it? Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this recommendation? Councillor Simon.
Actually, just a question, would this be now the time if Councillor Allison so wishes to move to that adjournment, if that's what she would want to do?
That's my understanding, yes. I was wrong before, so, yeah, but yes, that's right. Councillor Allison, would you like to move that the item be adjourned?
Yes, I would.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison. Do I have a seconder for Councillor Ellison's motion for this item to be adjourned? Councillor Collins, seconded. So just so I can clear up process, Carrie, so we do a vote now on the adjournment? Yep, so just so we're clear, we're voting now not on the recommendation as presented, we're voting on a motion to adjourn this item. So I'll put that to a vote. All those in favour?
The question,
Oh,
please.
Yes, Councillor Simon had a question, apologies.
Through the chair. I just want to make sure me voting on that, I have to have the right information. By adjourning this, will this have any impact on finishing the roads that we just earlier talked about by the end of the financial year? Would this have any impact, material impact on that or not? If it doesn't, then I'm happy to adjourn. If it would have material impact on me because of that, wouldn't be able to finish some roads that we need to finish by the end of the financial year, then I would have a problem with it. So.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Councillor Simon. The current financial year is a current financial year. This is for the next financial year. What this means is that we won't dispose of any plant and equipment. It'll just get older and you might have to do more repairs to them, which sometimes has been to our detriment because we've encountered big repair bills before we've actually had the opportunity to sell something. I guess if the large item being the grader is the issue, that is something that which we've done with the current financial year's program anyway, delayed until we have found out what the results are of this review. And we're happy to continue with that same stance. But if this was adjourned, it doesn't change what's happening other than the renewal of what we've got and any maintenance burden that we may encounter. We've still got the same plant and fleet.
Does that answer your question, Councillor Simon?
Absolutely does, yeah. That's what I was expecting that. So it's only for the next financial year. So I'm happy to support the motion.
Thanks, Councillor Simon. Councillors, anyone else want to speak to Councillor Ellison's adjournment motion before I put it to a vote? So we'll put the adjournment motion to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That motion's carried.
Could I just have a division on that? Thank you, through the chair.
Thank you. Councillor Ellison's called for a division. For those who voted in favour of the motion, please stand behind your chairs. Thanks. Kerry and Kylie, are we happy with that?
Thank you. You will just, if you 2 seconds.
Thanks, everyone. You can sit down again. We'll just give Kylie a moment to catch up with the vote. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Mayor? Sure. Is next Tuesday a council meeting?
It's a special council meeting.
So this will come up at the first item, won't it? It's an adjourned piece of business? No?
Richard, did you want to respond to it?
Yeah, no, I think what we're hearing is that elected members want to wait until the INE review comes through. So, and that'll be the decision that'll come through in late or in May. Yeah. But I don't think it's going to be a report for decision, it'll be a report for information.
Does that answer your question, councillor Bill?
Yeah, it does, but it sort of seems to be leaving us up in mid-air a bit. If it's just a report for information in May, we have to make a decision on this item.
Sorry, Carrie, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, sorry, through the chair. Just to clarify, was the question, will the report come back to the next meeting? Is that what you're requesting, councillor Bill?
No, this is a report for adjournment, so it doesn't come up to the next special meeting.
No, it doesn't come to the next special meeting. It will come to the next ordinary meeting. The report will come as it is with the same recommendation, and we'll continue from there. Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that up, Carrie. Okay. We're moving into the supplementary now. Carrie? Sorry if I missed one. Yeah, supplementary. Yeah. Sorry, there's also a report for we dealt with that. Yep. Okay, so into the supplementary agenda now, councillors. So item 13.14 is a report for decision on the 4-year capital asset renewal program. Megan, did you want to provide any further information on this?
Just for elected members, thank you, Acting Mayor Michael. Just to clarify that the information session we had last week, the 4-year renewal program is what this report's in relation to. It is not in relation to those upgrades or those extra roads that we did talk about. That report will be coming to the special council meeting. So this is purely renewal from our asset database, which is in line with our IAMP.
Thanks, Megan. Councillors, any other questions in relation to this report? Councillor Simon.
Through the chair. Probably if somebody can refresh my memory, probably Megan, because I think I've asked this before, but I can't find Railway Terrace on this list of sealed roads that need to be opened. I think you've explained it to me, but I probably forgot. So if you can refresh my memory, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simon. Railway Terrace, when it was first in the program that we talked about a few years ago, that was based on our old data. Since that time, we had a condition audit undertaken of all our roads, which did change, I guess, the priorities of some of the roads. But Railway Terrace actually came up in year 5 or 6, which means it's just outside of this program, which is why you can't see it.
Thank you, Megan. Councillor Simon.
If I can then ask, because it is in my opinion, a pretty bad state. It's got massive, but we had a little rain and there's lakes all over it. It's cracked. Like there's more black marks on it than not. I mean, to me, it seems in very bad state. And then I see on this list, I see Gartrell Street, which we just done, and it's a new road at the bottom, and we fix it up at the top, and that gets redone. And you know, all the roads in Rosemary that to me seem Rondo Avenue, whatever, don't seem quite as bad. So I just wondered. To me, that seems a bit odd, and especially Railway Terrace being a very used road for school, all the buses obviously, and just hundreds of cars twice a day during school time.
If I could add to that, thank you. So Railway Terrace also had identified for reconditioning, so it also required further testing and work, and Railway Terrace is going to be more than just a reseal. It was going to include a bit more work to fix some of those problems that you've mentioned.
Thanks, Megan. Councillor Simon, you happy with that? Councillor Fabio, then Councillor Collin.
Through the chair, if I may ask, on page 10, it lists Hawkers Creek Road from Trevina Road through to Bethel Road as listed for sealing. There was an appetite there amongst the local residents to actually leave that road as an unsealed road. Has that changed, or is that what's the go there? Or was that in relation to my question late last year about the sealing of over that area of Ross Creek Bridge?
Sorry, councillor Fabio, on page 10, Hawkers Creek Road.
Yeah.
Year 1.
Yeah.
Unsealed, that's resheeting.
Yeah, so this isn't the upgrade program. This is, just regular maintenance. Yep. Thank you, councillor Collin.
I'll say just quickly, so if we're not counting that upgrade program in this, so I know Branson Road and a couple others we were talking about, how will they fit in with this budget? Because you've got all the roads in the 25/6 program, and it says 2.6 million, and then that's basically all got in the budget. So that will come through another budget. So that's through that $1 million.
So when we spoke, sorry, through the chair, when we spoke at our information session, we had those separate lists. So this is purely renewal. The upgrades of Branson, like Pubs Road classification upgrade, even though that remains unsealed. We had the intersection, I think, with Trevina and Hawkers Creek. We had that intersection in there. I think Oates was on the list. We had quite a few different roads. That's all part of the upgrade program. That report's coming to next week's special council meeting. So those funds were set aside separately, and that's where elected members, we talked about upgrading of footpaths, not renewal, but brand new footpaths. We talked about brand new curb and gutter where there is no curb and gutter. We talked about brand new street lighting, and we talked about these other roads as well. So what we did is in the budget, there is an allowance of $180,000 for the reclassifications for unsealed roads. There is, I think it's 150, if my memory serves me correct, for footpaths and lighting. And there was 450 for curb and gutter for the new. And then these other roads were as elected members wish to add them. And then that would then fit in with the long-term financial plan. What has already been committed by elected members was College Road and Bethel Road. So stages 2 and 3 of Bethel Road are coming out of the upgrade funds, not renewal. So this renewal, this particular capital program, is the renewal funds that are funded by depreciation. The upgrade is not. So that's coming separately.
I thought we decided not to do College Road.
It's in year 4 and 5 of the program.
Thank you, councillor Collin and Megan. Councillors, there's a recommendation up on the screen. Do I have a mover of this recommendation? Thank you, councillor Dean. Would you like to speak to it? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Lynette, thank you. Would you like to speak to it? Councillors, any other comments? Put it to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Item 13.15 is Strategic Infrastructure Funding Plan 25 to 29. Megan, anything to add to this one? Yeah. Councillors, any questions? Do I have a mover for this recommendation? Thank you, councillor Bill. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, councillor Dean. Councillor Bill or councillor Dean, anything to add? Thank you. Anything else, councillors? We'll put this to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Item 13.16 is a report for decision on the green waste survey for rural townships. So great to see that this has been brought back again for council to consider. Megan, did you have anything you would like to add?
Nothing further. Thank you, Acting Mayor Michael.
I did have a question just in relation to this that I had from a ratepayer, and the question was whether or not in obtaining access to the 3-bin facility, people in rural townships would be entitled then to hard waste collection.
Thank you. Through the chair, the residents of this 3-bin service, they will actually be entitled to in Gawler Belt, a voucher rather than an actual collection, curbside collection for hard waste. And the reason being is more to do with work health and safety for the collection.
Thanks, Megan. Yeah, I just thought it was important to clear that up, and thank you for answering that. Councillors, any questions on this report? Do I have a mover? Thank you. Councillor Simon, would you like to speak to it?
No, I think we've been through that for a few years now, so I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Councillor Fabio as a seconder, would you like to speak to it? No. Any other comments? I'll put it to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, so that brings us then to questions on notice. There are none. Are there any, I should say? It says nil. Item 15, any questions without notice? Thank you. Okay, so there is a motion on notice, item 16.1. Just in relation to pedestrian safety for people exiting Xavier College in Gawler Belt. This was brought to me by Xavier College. Since then, I've had some feedback that there's some concerns with residents, with people parking, well, in their view, illegally on Parkers Road. So I just wondered if it would be possible to amend that to include Parkers Road. Thanks, Gary.
Just to clarify, so you're talking about car parking, but is it still in regards to pedestrian safety? So just including.
I think it's maybe if we referred to pedestrian and road user safety, I think the issue is people like stopping and letting people out of the car or picking people up.
Just a comment, yeah, remote.
Thanks, Councillor Bill.
That's great to see this, but there's also a major problem with cars coming off the highway, around the highway and then hitting the Xavier intersection. I've had cars back right up on the highway, or that right around the corner. Can this be included in the walking through in that area, whether it's worth having a look at? I'm not sure it's a deep problem, that intersection, or that something's got to be done about it.
I mean, the roundabout on the
when they come off the freeway and come and then
Road.
Turn to Xavier and get stuck on that turning, there's a backup right round they're on the freeway.
I'll take advice from the staff, but I think that's outside of. I think that's a Gawler or Dick issue.
It is outside of our responsibility, but it is one of the interventions that's actually included in the structure plan for Roseworthy.
Sorry, just to clarify, is Xavier College via Parker Road?
Sorry, I think maybe just to keep it simple, if we could just have a report on options to improve pedestrian road use safety for people accessing Xavier College, Gawler Belt, that might make it simpler. Councillor Ellison?
Just a question through the chair. So I know that we've had conversations with people about the illegal parking on Redbanks Road, where there's a no parking sign. They're all now, one person's stopped and dropped off their children. Now there's a second, third, fourth. Sometimes there's up to 10 cars parking along there, and me having a look, the sign says no parking. So is that our parking inspector that could issue tickets along there during the school? Is that we adding that in?
I would have thought that the report might address compliance. I know there's a similar problem at Hewitt as well.
It's actually quite dangerous.
Yeah.
And they just pull out in front of you. They've picked up the kids quickly, thinking, quick, better get them in the car and continue driving. That sometimes they don't even look. So, yeah, it's just getting more and more because one person's done it and got away with it. Happens in the morning as well. They're coming off the expressway to the T junction, and instead of turning right to go round, the kids are jumping out of the car. They're going left back into Gawler, but then you've got people getting in and out of cars. They've stopped. So yeah, it has started all of a sudden. There's a bit of a flow-on effect with the amount of cars stopping and children getting out and getting in. You know, mum rings and says, quick, run across the road, hop in, and we'll keep going because they want to get out of that traffic flow. I don't know if any of you have been along there at 3:05 to 3:20. Sometimes I get stuck in that, and there's, you know, a couple hundred cars that are coming and going and around the roundabout. They're at least getting in. So it might be just worthy of somebody moving them on, even if we don't give them fines, they just get a friendly reminder that they can't park there.
Thanks, Councillor Ellison. Do you think this report will address those options too?
Yeah, I think that addresses it. We've engaged with Xavier a number of times over different schemes that they've wanted addressed over the last 20 years. So I think this one will again address everything going right back to the Dawkins Avenue roundabout on the Gawler side as well. So right from Kentish Road through.
Thank you, Richard. So there's a motion up on the screen, councillors. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Ellison. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Simon, thank you. Councillor Ellison or Councillor Simon, anything further to add? Anybody else? We'll put that then to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you very much. Item 16.2 is a motion on notice from Councillor Ellison. Do I have a mover? Councillor Ellison, you'd like to move it? Would you like to speak to it?
I will, thank you, through the chair. So it's just in relation to the burning permits that are required for Gawler Belt that were brought in several years ago. And thank you to Craig. We've had a bit of a discussion about that. So now I've gone to a report just on that. The permit system, will I apply for it? I know a lot of people don't apply for it, and I had somebody tell me yesterday that they don't apply for a permit system. They live out there on 10 acres, and if they want to burn, they burn. And most people burn on the weekends, and we don't have a inspector around in the Gawler Belt area. And I've witnessed a lot of fires happening over the time in Gawler Belt. So I still think we need to have the rules and regulations relating to it, but free up the council staff from issuing permits. Because I've applied for a permit today, so I'll be interested to see what number I am on the permit list. Usually I'm number 1 or 2. And yeah, as I said, nobody's buying, unless we're going to have somebody working on the weekends going around and checking, which is going to cost us more money. I don't see the purpose of it, but we'll get the report as discussed with Craig.
Thank you, councillor Ellison. Is there a seconder? Thank you, councillor Fabio. Would you like to speak to it? Councillor Fabio, would anyone else like to speak to this motion? Put it to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, councillor Ellison. Item 16.3 is a motion on notice from councillor Simon in respect of council's opposition to the Planning, Development and Infrastructure EFPA Amendment Bill 2025. Councillor Simon, would you like to move that motion?
Yes, I would like to move it with one little change if I can, because I think it'd probably be better, because in point 3 it says request the chief executive officer to prepare and send a letter on behalf of council. I think it actually would be much preferred if it's the mayor. I think it's probably holds more weight in the political sort of realm if a mayor sends a letter. So I would like to change it to the mayor. And other than that, I would like to move that and speak to it as well.
Thank you, councillor Simons. So councillor Simons moved it. Councillor Ellison seconded. Would you like to speak to it, councillor Ellison? Councillors, anyone else like to speak to this motion?
Sorry. Do we see the statement before it's, as a collective, do we see the statements before it's released or not?
I don't see a problem with that. If I'm to be drafting it or sending it out, then I'm happy to circulate it to the elected members before it goes out. Yep.
Yeah, I'd just like to see it before, because we're moving something and we haven't got eyes on what the end product is. I wouldn't mind. I don't really like it when something's written and I don't know what it is when the community ring me about it.
Sure. So do we need to add that to this, do you think, or?
Your word's good enough for me.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Simon?
Yeah, I mean, you haven't talked about this probably too much already, but and there's lots written there, but I do want to emphasize 3 points. Try to do it quickly. This whole change or this weakening of the protection of some of the best farmland in this area is done under the guise of solving the housing crisis. At best, in 10 to 15 years, people will be starting to build on this land. So there's no need to do this right now. And we don't even have the infrastructure to build on the land that's available right now. So this is just a dishonest political move. That's literally all it is. This does not solve the housing crisis. That's the first one. The second point, it is not only dishonest that it's not going to do it right now anyway, but even if they would be building these houses right now, it wouldn't solve the housing crisis, because has anybody checked the prices in Rosebery these days? That the cheapest thing down there is $750,000. That's 10 times the average income of the population of Australia. Like, how is this affordable? Like, it's not affordable. So obviously, if the private sector builds houses, they want to make their profit. It's going to be expensive houses. It's not going to solve it. Like, if you really want to solve it, you have to talk, tax reform. You have to talk labor law reform. You have to talk public housing. You have to talk immigration. There's all these other levers that you have to pull if you're actually serious about solving the housing crisis, and nobody does. So that's the second point. But the third point is probably even more important, or most important out of all. Greenfield development is just by definition wrong. It is just wrong. Like, you go back to the first Surveyor General, Colonel William Light, who designed Adelaide. he already talked, and I don't know if you guys read his thing, he was a very smart man. He already talked about containment, which is the number one thing. That's why Adelaide has a big parklands around it, because he said you cannot, this urban sprawl is a disease. He knew that 175 or 180 years ago. And to that, so we could easily, literally easily, we want the growth. We could easily achieve that with infill development. Now, just as a little example, the most livable city in the world, 3 times in a row, this year, last year, the year before, is Vienna, the capital of Austria. And I don't know if any of you have been there. Absolutely lovely city, beautiful. It is a very livable, beautiful city. It has 10 times the density of Adelaide, 10 times. So if we can't do this in Adelaide and still have a beautiful, livable city, it's just wrong. So once again, this is just, it is a cheap political point scoring, and it's dishonest at best and probably nefarious at worst. So, yeah.
Thank you, councillor Simon. Councillor Ellison.
Thank you through the chair. I just wanted to add to councillor Simon. If you have a look on realestate.com under Roseworthy and under William Lakes, there's a house for sale in there for 1.1 million, I think. So I'm not quite sure, plus many others that are getting up around that figure, how that's going to fix the housing crisis, because people can't afford to buy a house at that price. But it was just worth having a look at that. So, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, councillor Ellison and councillor Simon. And it'll be mentioned in the communications in the published agenda, but I had a number of letters published in local media just reinforcing the views that council expressed on the GARP in its written submission. Okay, so I have a mover and a seconder. Does anyone else want to speak on the motion before us? Put that to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you, councillor Simon. Sorry, councillor Collin. Question for Richard or Kerry?
It's the title because there hasn't been a formally elected mayor, so we just go from acting. Yeah, so we haven't had we haven't received the sign come back yet. Community, correct. So we've put the acting role because they do act in the role of the mayor until there is a mayor voted.
Thank you. So then that brings us to item 17, motions without notice. So we've already dealt with one of those, haven't we? Yep, earlier in the agenda, and I'm aware of another one, I believe, councillor Collin.
Yep.
Now, I think you've provided a copy of that to governance beforehand, so would you like to move that motion and then speak to it? We'll let it sort of populate on the screen while you're doing that.
Yeah, so it's just a motion that council organise a meeting between the Premier, Peter Malinauskas, the Mayor, the CEO and a community delegate to inform him of the hardships that have been suffered by members of our community due to the current drought. And then it's a bit of a loose motion. I'm happy for anyone to add anything to it. I spoke to Richard the other day, and we haven't made a deputation or any presentation to the state government about the plight that we're in, and I think that it would be a good thing if we did have a delegation go down and just tell him what is going on. And an idea I did have, I don't know if it, but just to get maybe some money to subsidise the rates, like the residential and the prime production rate pay, maybe, I don't know, but I'm open if anyone else wants to put anything in if they think it's a good idea. If they don't, well, don't support it. But
thank you, councillor Collin. I think it's an excellent motion. Whatever we can do to advocate on behalf of our ratepayers affected by the current drought conditions is a good thing in my view. Do we have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Ellison, would you like to speak to it? No. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to Councillor Collins' motion? Put that to a vote then. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Collins. So if I'm not mistaken, that brings us to the end of the public agenda. So we now moving into confidential items. Item 18, 18.1 is 2024-25 CEO performance review process. There's a recommendation here, councillors, that we keep this matter in confidence. We're going into confidence, I should say. Do I have a mover of that recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Fabio. Seconder, thank you, Councillor Allison. Would anyone like to speak to it? No, we'll put that to a vote. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried.